Man, I just am baffled sometimes how Life Pro gets this going behind the scenes. Thank you, Jen, who deserves a big box of cookies today for getting things working for me on her end. Thank you for joining me. Yesterday was Heart Month Awareness Day, and actually the entire month of February, not that it's Valentine's Day, is about heart, lung, and blood awareness. So there was all kinds of events going on yesterday in the country. I took a few brief notes because I was curious. This month happens once a year, and I always like to bring some stats forward. A few things I found a little interesting as I look at my off-camera notes. It looks more like I'm looking at the camera when I'm back there. Thank you for joining me today. So if you are dealing with a heart issue, or perhaps you're caring for someone that is dealing with heart health issues, cardiovascular, blood, that they're all intertwined and interconnected. 77.5% of men and 75.4% of women between the ages of 60 and 79 in the US are dealing with some type of a cardiovascular issue, disease, heart disease, coronary heart disease. There's all kinds of different tangents. And of course, a health condition is obviously an indication that things aren't functioning properly. And when you're dealing with cardiovascular health, heart health, there are a few things that, especially if you've had a heart attack, or you're dealing with a traumatic event, a traumatic symptom, you are probably on a different exercise program, or maybe you are just starting an exercise program. There's a couple of common reasons, heart issues develop, but it's not always because we're living a poor or inactive lifestyle, although they are big contributing factors. So for American Heart Month, I'm going to drop some links. There were a number of activities. There's a theme every year. And they had a really good tip sheet. So I thought I would share the tip sheet with you. And instead of going over all of them in detail, I'm going to go over a few of the more relevant ones related to what I'm talking about today, which is, of course, the activities. So getting active, being active. And in many cases, if you are dealing with a new diagnosis, or are being cautious, vibration plates are something that is really like the ultimate ideal tool if you're dealing with a lot of the symptoms associated with heart disease. But it's not something everybody knows about yet, like a treadmill or the gym or weights. So there was some new research as I was digging through, what is the best exercises for da 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 da. I always like to take a look, and these annual awareness days are a good way. Things are always changing. Stay curious, keep experimenting. If you are improving your physical health, you tend to progress to be able to do other things with your physical health. And maybe you just want to get back to some of the activities that you love doing. So there was a new study, and I'm going to drop this for those of you that are curious. Copy. I did drop it in the event details, but I'm going to drop it in the event now so everybody can see me. If you are joining me today, please let me know if you see and hear me. Let me know where you're joining me from too. Today, I'm curious if you are joining me. Do you have a current heart issue? Is it something, whether it's a diagnosis or something you kind of suspect, there's a history in the family, things like that. Hello, Jane. Good afternoon. And, sometimes people join these sessions. We do lots of sessions over and over again, and there's always some new information, but that the main reason is to keep you motivated. And if you're dealing with a major heart issue, one of the big things I know as a symptom, thank you, Jane, for letting me know that you can see and hear me. If you can't hear me, then that's rare because I talk pretty loud. It would have been a function. So thank you for letting me know my speakers are working. But if you are dealing with a heart issue, or just in poor health in general, probably the biggest symptom that challenges you, pain, mobility, all that aside, which is usually the first thing that comes to mind. In my experience with the vibration machines, in theory, the vibration machines are supposed to be a very effective, very short thing. But all of you want to just go longer and longer and longer. They feel so good. They help you meditate. Activity in itself, there is no parameter around how long you can go for a walk or how long you can go for a jog. But the symptom of fatigue, lack of wind, you know what I'm saying, especially if you're like post heart attack, post surgery of any kind, you just don't have the wind for the long sustained, perhaps, high exertion exercise. So if you put on top of that, your doctor or your therapist is saying, oh, you got to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds. Hi from New Orleans, CAD value leak. Um, valve leak, Canadian valve leak. I'm from Canada. Not sure what that's. Oh, you're from Canada and you've had a valve leak. I hope that's not something you're dealing with right now. If you're just giving me a bit of history, what I'd like to do when I get through, I'm going to give options for everyone. So fatigue aside, you are all individually dealing usually with more than one thing. If you're at a stage in your life when you're dealing with heart, you've had a heart transplant or a lung transplant or blood transfusions, you've probably got other things going on. It's not uncommon when you have one condition or one morbidity to have others. Maybe you're also dealing with diabetes or hypertension, or maybe you've got rheumatoid arthritis or lymphedema. So usually throughout the course of our life, especially if you're in that age group, if you're 60 plus, and I'm so close, you've got 60 years of miles on the tire, and the sport of living, takes its toll. And the heart, is just one of, we are electrical beings, and think of the heart as that engine that pumps our blood and fuels our blood. Lymphatic fluid, which is also very important, especially if you're recovering for something, you're not terribly healthy, maybe you haven't been making the best food choices. So the lymphatic system is important on the detoxification, expediting the body's waste. But there's 4 key things when I was reading into this. Physically, yes, fatigue is one thing you're probably all commonly dealing with as a symptom. But bad knees, bad backs, excess weight, there's all kinds of things. So I want you to stop thinking about the label on your forehead. I have coronary heart disease, or I have rheumatoid, or whatever it may be, and just look at yourself as an individual, and physically, what are you going to be able to do? What should you be doing? And be realistic. What are you actually going to do? The biggest mistake I see this time of the year is people. It's the new year and the pressure's on, and all the marketing's there, and even though we're kind of rounding into February, what are those gym numbers like? How many people are actually coming back and renewing for month 2? It's harder at home. You don't have Debbie there, or Amber, or Roseanne, making you healthy smoothies and motivating you to physically do it. And although there are people that do that in life, it gets expensive going for therapy and going to the gym, and changing how you have lived your active life or have not lived your active life for the first 50, 60 years is hard to make a dramatic change. So the best advice I can give you is be realistic. Start somewhere. Maybe it's just putting your feet on the plate and starting with, maybe you're just managing symptoms and feeling a little better and sleeping a little better before we even get into the program that everybody thinks you should be doing or are supposed to be doing. And most of you, if you've gone through some specialists and you have talked about exercise and what the exercise you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. The plate is simply an environment that makes exercise positions easier and more effective, and with less effort on your part. So if you're dealing with fatigue, weakness, maybe you've been recovering for a long time, those muscles and those bones deteriorate. So you kind of need to backtrack and make up some benefits, and the machines themselves not only will be something that's more possible for many of you to use as an exercise modality, but often if you take the word exercise and workout and diet and all those other things that everybody's throwing at you and just start moving and feeling better, use it to manage the symptoms I know that you're dealing with, help you recover if that's the situation you're in, get some energy into that body of yours before you start trying to do a big workout program. And I'm going to suggest for today, you focus, if you're starting from ground zero, or your machine isn't out of the box yet, or you've taken a big hiatus over the holidays and haven't gotten back into the new year mode, be realistic and just start moving and feeling better. There's 4 main points, and I'm going to drop this as well before I go to the machine and can't read anymore. So I need to just do this. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to ask you guys questions. And I really want you to think about, You don't think about what you've tried. If it worked for you and you enjoyed doing it, you'd still be doing it and you wouldn't be coming and joining me for ideas. But what I would really like for you to do is think about, what do you enjoy? Do you like walking? Do you like going to the pool? Do you enjoy playing video games? There's always a way I can make these things work. And I just want to find a simple way for you to start having a relationship with your machine, whether you're a new user or you're just getting back to it. Okay, so I'm going to, hang on, I've got all these. Okay, so there's my first one. That's the study that I want to refer to, because I didn't, this was supposed to lead better, and I was supposed to do the big drum roll. The first link that I dropped is a study, and I was speaking earlier about what I found interesting when I was researching what the tips are, what are the exercises you should be doing, the type of activities, these type of things. The few tips I've kind of covered to a degree without even pointing them out in the form of points, but you got to make sure you're getting enough rest and enough sleep. And if you're in a recovery situation, you've got to let yourself recover. You're not going to do yourself any favors, but if you start working out and getting back to your activities, if you're not getting adequate rest at night, this is when your body puts all this to work, and this is when it repairs and heals, and you need to make sure you're getting good sleep. So if you're not getting good sleep right now, that would probably be the best thing to focus on, using your plate to get to sleep. And once you start sleeping better, the fatigue, the good mood, there's other things that'll help with this equation. Eat better. We are what we eat, and what we eat is the fuel for the activities that we want to perform or the surgeries we need to recover from. So I hate the word diet, and I don't like the word, calories, and all these things are very demotivating and are very, very inaccurately measured. There's all these calorie counters and all these, steps you're supposed to be doing in a day, but whether you're putting forth more effort today than you were yesterday. Simply, take one step forward. Maybe it's instead of taking the short way to the bathroom, you're taking the long way. Maybe, if you're going to work, instead of doing the elevator, take a set of stairs or 2 or 3, moderately start progressing and give yourself not only physically, but mentally the foundation to motivate you further. If you just dive into some big program, or you join your friends at the gym and you do something you're not ready for yet, you're just going to demotivate yourself and God forbid, have a setback or knock yourself out that you don't have any energy for the rest of the day. So that the biggest thing with sleep and the biggest relationship it will have is that fatigue. And if you can start getting better sleep and start having better energy levels or more stamina throughout the day, then we can talk about exercise and busting a move. But I will progress to some of that today for those of you I know that are doing the good work. Third point, maintain a healthy body weight. I'm not going to lecture you. We all know whether we've got an extra inch or 2 around the tire or 20. And the more we have in our frame, not only internally, does it cause pressure and poor mobility and, raises our high blood pressure. There's all kinds of things it does, but it makes the exercise harder. So if you're coming from a place of excessive weight, which many of you are, it does not mean that weight loss is impossible. I'm tired of people being told that they have to run like hamsters on a treadmill for an hour before they can lose weight. That's absolutely incorrect. And I'm here to prove all that wrong. You've got to step up to the plate and do the work, but consistent, regular use, like any activity, is what's going to get you across the finish line. So the study that I dropped earlier on, exercises that engage muscles without moving you is the new thing. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, and I've like this, there's all kinds of, we know that exercise is good for us. What I'm always trying to preach is it's exercise, or even on the plate exercises or modifications that are appropriate for you and where you're at, regardless of the label on your forehead. Do you have bad knees? People with heart conditions have bad knees. So do people with arthritis and MS. So it's not like for each condition, these are the symptoms and that's it. There's so much crossover. So pay attention to what your body's telling you. Focus on the symptoms and use the natural good stuff of movement to help your body either bridge that gap to other activities, or just simply get you back to those things you love doing, playing with the grandkids, going for your walks, cooking, whatever it may be. It doesn't mean it's a big workout. So yes, the researchers found that exercises that engage muscles without moving you, so not moving the joints, is ideal. Well, obviously, because many of you are also dealing with swelling and lymphedema and arthritis. But so here's the exercises, and this is what everybody needs to know about these machines. Whether you understand them, whether you fear them, everybody needs to start common sense. This is low impact movement, and it just makes exercise more possible for general population. So they're suggesting wall squats and planks. So those are great exercises that engage a lot of muscles without physical movement. But I've got quite a few family members, let alone clients that I'm dealing with, that I absolutely would not be starting with wall squats and planks. Now, all those may be examples. I would have loved to have seen vibration plates in there. So you guys know that are using them in theory, whether you've been using them regularly or not, they activate muscles through these little micro movements. And the type of movement that we're going to be dealing with today is oscillating. When you're dealing with heart and stroke issues and fatigue and all the other conditions that tend to be associated with, sometimes the balance and the stability and the strength isn't there either. So just by doing whatever the exercises are on your sheet that you're supposed to be doing already, on the floor, on your bed, whatever they are, by doing them on the plate, you're going to add super capacity to increase circulation and lymph, which you need lots of right now. You are going to dramatically reduce the amount of impact that you would do overdoing, mid to high intensity exercises. We want to raise and exercise the heart, but the lung function and your own strength, and there's so many factors that come into it. And a lot of times you're fatiguing before the muscles get to a level of being done. So the beauty of a vibration plate is it's also going to give you the balance and stability almost immediately. The first time that you use a vibration plate, and I used to see this at shows all the time, it's very common to gain balance and flexibility dramatically in the course of just trying it for a minute or two. So imagine if you used it regularly. So if you're dealing with fatigue, anything I can do to improve your stability, your stamina, I don't want anyone being at a risk of falling. And sometimes when you push yourself in your activities because they require longer duration, maybe you're in a little bit better shape, but you don't have the wind. It's frustrating, and I don't want you having a fall or having a bump or a bruise because you've pushed yourself beyond where you should. So the study's there if you're interested. As I said, I can think of something that engages muscles without moving you. But I wanted to give you examples. A lot of you, if you are dealing with a medical condition of any kind, today we're talking about heart issues, but LifePro is a manufacturer of equipment. They are not a medical company. They are not a physical therapy company. But I see all these questions that really should be versed to your therapist or your doctor, but they don't know about the machines. So you're kind of stuck in the middle. And I assure you, if you're not using your machine out of fear or you've had a poor experience, 99.9% of the time, it's a matter of just modifying what you're doing. Maybe you took on more than you're ready for. Maybe you weren't doing it often enough. Maybe you weren't hydrated. There's a number of things with any activity, and I want you to be cautious. General use, heart use, whatever your reason is, you don't have to go the preset time of 10 minutes. 10 minutes doesn't seem like a whole lot, but I've just explained to you that you're dealing with something that increases the effectiveness, therefore reducing the time that you have to spend exercise. So if you can't do 10 minutes around the block, you shouldn't be doing 10 minutes on a machine. You shouldn't be doing 5 minutes. And if you're doing it earlier in the day where you have a life and kids and other things you've got to deal with, you should be using it in short, purposeful little power pack sessions more frequently, because it's going to give you energy. It's going to give you blood flow. It's going to give you balance and stability. And you can kind of build from there. So before I keep rambling and get back to your questions, let's go through some examples. I needed some caffeine first. So I have a couple of things set up today. My trusty dusty stool. If you do not have a bar height stool, I recommend long-term use getting one. A lot of my clients dealing with fatigue for whatever reason, as I said today, it's about heart health, which is a common symptom is fatigue and even weakness in the muscles, poor stability. I want you grounded. So I would prefer that you sit in a chair to start. And ideally, long term, we want to be functional. We want to think smart, because eventually I do want you standing up. If you're not in a position or you're dealing with poor fatigue, it's late in your day, the stool is a great way to still get some circulation and some lymph in the lower legs. I want to reiterate a very important point specific to heart health. When you are dealing with heart issues, one of the biggest things you're going to be told is you need to increase your circulation and increase your calf, your lower leg strength, and your feet. It's very, very important that your blood flow, your blood pressure, all of these things that are working with your vascular, they're affected by your vascular system. The calf muscles are kind of puny and small and compared to our larger group of thighs and glutes. So anything you can do to increase your calf muscle strength, flexibility, and circulation in the feet and the legs is going to be, this is the foundation. This is what you're walking around on all day. So it's, if you're dealing with neuropathy and other symptoms, a lot of the exercises, when I suggest you start seated, they're not specific to the label, the condition. There's a lot of universal symptoms. And I find a lot of folks when we're dealing with heart issues, or you suspect you may be, the fatigue, start seated. You can do your warm-up seated, get the legs, the calf muscles going. And if you're not doing calf raises now, a safer way, to be honest with you, is to start seated. What you do is you just come up on your toes and you just raise back down. If you're dealing with poor range of motion or instability, hypermobility, those type of things in the ankles, you don't want to be bearing your whole weight and standing up and doing it, especially if you're dealing with a smaller platform. If you're dealing with more mass, if you're dealing with a smaller plate, they do have a tendency to tip if you haven't got yourself centered. If you want something light and portable, sometimes you got to modify and just pay attention to the exercises you're doing that would be different on a heavier plate that's 40, 50 pounds. But I really like just starting seated, especially if you're not doing these exercises now. You can also do a seated calf stretch. So I take 1 foot at a time, extend it out forward, pull those toes. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see what I look like. Extend that foot, toe, and then do the opposite. Now, if it's hard for you to hold your leg that entire duration, you can do like a lift and a pull, relax, a lift and a point, relax, and just alternate legs to start. So what I recommend is lift and point. Do 1 rep one side, then switch. Lift, point. Okay, if you have trouble straightening your leg, just as long as you're feeling the stretch, you may not have the range of motion that I do, but for those of you that do have good range of motion and a little more strength, feel free to lift higher, and you're just going to get a little deeper up into the back of the knee and the quads. So that's a really good one to just sort of warm up the muscles. If you're really tight, you may want to do a little bit of stretching first before you move into the calf raises. I need to find my pool noodle. I had a couple discussions in the group just this morning and last night. If you're watching me, pool noodle lady, Diane, I wanted to demonstrate this. This is a very high technical piece of equipment. This is a pool noodle you can get at your sporting goods store. And I just cut it the width of your machine. You'll have 2 good chunks and the width of your machine. And if you're dealing with littler feet, dealing with pediatric type stuff, kids, take a steak knife and cut it lengthways so you've got like a half circle and a round circle. Pool noodles are awesome on the machine, especially if you're dealing with neuropathy. You're trying to target different areas of the feet, the ankles, the Achilles, the back of the knees. There's certain body parts that don't come completely in contact with the plate. And your traditional rollers, they're a little dense. They're a little too hard when you use them on the machine and that vibration's there. This just kind of squishes in and gets into those cavities and gets the vibration into the areas you want attention. So that's one way that you can use it. I like to use it on the plate if you are dealing with severe range of motion. Everything hurts all the time. You can use this, just wedge it. Start by wedging it under the arches of the feet. And you can roll forward and point the toes versus doing the lift. So roll the toes forward and point them off the edge of the platform. Roll back, and you're just going to hit the heels. I think you could see this better sideways. Hang on 1 second. There's no perfect angle for every move, just saying. Okay. Just want to make sure you guys can see this okay. So what I'm doing, I'm starting with it under in the arches, and I'm rolling forward and pointing the toes. You'll feel that all the way up the shin. It's good if you got shin splints too. Roll back, and you'll feel a little stretch. Try and push those heels down into that gap. Forward. And again, this is for those of you that can only use your platform seated. There's so many things you can do when you're seated. Just play around. I don't want you getting bored and feeling like you have to go longer and longer. But this is a great tool if you're not able to bear weight completely or shouldn't be. Maybe you're recovering from a new hip or some spine surgery. So there's all kinds of things that you can do exposing the lower extremities. For those of you that want a little bit more upper body action but are limited to standing for how long, you can. I do this in most of my seated sessions. If you want to get a little upper body warm up before you stand, lean forward and put the elbows in contact with the knees and just lean forward. You'll get the shoulders in line with the elbows and the knees. If you're back like this, arched, you'll feel it in a different area. A little bit more on the head. It is not harmful. It just takes some getting used to. But some people are sensitive to the head vibration. Maybe you've got some new teeth, or you've had some ear and eye work done. But this is a good way to just get into the upper body. As a reminder, at any time, if you're finding it's too strong, it's too intense, I kind of speak the opposite of what most of the instruction on this page offers and the industry in general. But I've been doing this a lot longer, especially with medical conditions. Everybody talks about programs and frequencies and what's the best speed for this and what's the best program for that. It really doesn't exist, but marketing and studies have been out there so long and really looking at a very limited range of frequencies. There's so many more frequencies they haven't explored. So I come from a place of experience, and many of you that have been using the plate for a while, have learned this lesson maybe without even realizing. But amplitude, just as a reminder, is the intensity is if you're wide, if you're at that running position, you're subjecting yourself to more impact. So if you're dealing with heart issues, and on top of that, you got like varicose veins and leg pain and neuropathy, wider is not better. Wider is not more benefit. It's more impact, more movement. You're just moving more. So everybody freaks when they hear Debbie say, oh, use a mid to high speed. No, you couldn't imagine with your feet wide. But bring your feet close. If you are very frail, if you are very afraid, if you are in a lot of pain, I want you to understand this is the most important lesson. Feet close together reduces the amount of movement. Think of it as a teeter-totter. When you're on the outer edge, you're moving much more. But I want you with a closer foot placement also cranking it up. Bring it up to a mid-speed, even a high speed. The faster you go, the smoother it will be. But if your feet are wide, you never get there without scaring the heck out of yourself. So instead of going wide and slow, start close and a mid to fast speed. You'll get more energy. You'll get more benefit. I don't want people thinking you get more benefits because you're going faster. But for the population we're talking to today, where you're suffering with fatigue, we're trying to get things going with minimal movement, crank your machine up to a mid-high speed, feet close, and see the difference in how it feels as opposed to wide and slow, and you'll know what I'm talking about. And I want you literally from a time perspective, if you're just starting out, very below baseline, 1, 2, maybe 3 minutes as symptoms present throughout the day. So when you start feeling fatigued, when you start feeling weak, when you start feeling, like you want to go have a nap, maybe you've got things to go do and you need energy. So short sessions will offer the symptom management that you're looking for, but they'll also give you the energy. If you start going more than 3 to 4 minutes on these faster speeds, you're gonna deplete the energy that you do have. Save your energy for squats and those things when you get to it. If you're doing squats, if you're doing standing exercises, we're going to progress now from the chair to a different variation. Okay, many of you are able to stand and bear weight, but range of motion isn't there yet. So you're standing, you're doing your thing, but often, maybe I can't bend my knees enough yet to get into a squat, or I'm very, very weak. And, I can get down, but getting back up is a challenge. So I just want to teach you a little trick with your standing poses. So again, when you stand, even more so, it's more a total body effect. The wider you, I've already talked for 10 minutes, go figure. I'm doing mine in slow so I can illustrate this on camera, but on slow speeds, with wide feet, it's very jarring, very choppy, very wobbly, and the body's very lazy. It's always going to try and find an easier way to get things done, so it naturally kind of stands you taller, and all the movement is driven to your head and your neck because you're like an A-frame or a pendulum on this rocking boat. Make sure the knees are bent enough. And just by undoing the knees, you should feel the vibration almost immediately leave your head and suppress to the neck. If you bend a little deeper, you'll notice all of a sudden it's being pushed lower and lower as those big leg muscles absorb. Okay? So what I would prefer is functional. None of us are going to the gym yet if you're looking for my help in today's topic. I want your feet about hip width apart, and referring to my good old study that I linked there, exercises that engage the muscles without you moving. So for those of you that, yes, technically I am moving right now about maybe 3 to 4 millimeters each time the plate is moving me up and down. Moving in the study means this. So moving up and down. And what happens, like I said, many of you are dealing with other things. You've got arthritis, you've got lymphedema, and sometimes the physical movement required to engage those muscles is enough for you to say, no, I'm staying on the couch. So what I challenge you to do, the most, and I always say that the squat's the most effective for this, but it really is the best move that you can learn to do well. Instead of moving up and down, start squatting a little bit. I want you working within your range of motion, but hold still. You're not tensing up and fighting it. You're holding a good position, good strong core. We're not standing and just leaning over. That's not a squat. Try and keep your alignment good and go lower, okay? Kind of like you're getting ready to sit in a chair. And you may want to have that chair behind you if you find, you're pushing yourself and you fatigue, you can just plop back down on the chair. That's another good reason. But if these types of exercises are one of those things you just can't get over the head vibe thing, and there are some of you, you've got sensitivities, perhaps you've had a stroke, there's all kinds of different reasons that people don't like the head sensitivity. Beside me, I have not another vibration plate. This is the Aero step that Life Pro launched here last year. This is a little aerobic step. And what you can do is you can minimize completely the amount of head vibrations, but you are going to need to kind of do some of the exercises twice. So what we're doing, instead of standing on the plate, we're going to put half of our body on dry land. So we're going to put that on the Life Pro step. And if you're really scared of the machine and you can even start on the Life Pro step and just sort of dip your toe in the water and see, oh, do I like this? Now remember, where you place your foot drives the intensity. So if you just put your foot on the outer edge, it's going to feel kind of scary. And I don't recommend, if you are doing one-legged exercises, to put all of your mass on the outer edge. I mean, give the plate a break. It's moving all of your body weight, okay? So bring it in. Bring it in to just outside the middle, maybe an inch or two, kind of get a feel for it. And what you'll feel is that this side is working, but this one's good and stable, and you're not going to feel it in the head. If you want to test yourself and just slowly shift your weight, I can feel it in my head just ever so slightly. Okay, there it's gone. Right? So this is just an option I wanted to share with you. This is also really good for all of you that are asking me about that new hip, or that, if you've had a deficiency on one side. I get this all the time. I had, varicose veins taken out of this leg, or I had my knee replaced, or I had a new hip surgery, or I had a bad fall, but I want to use my machine because it makes me feel so good. If you're in a position where one side of your body is not able to bear weight, but the other side is, this is an option. Maybe you're standing, but you're not comfortable to put everything on the machine yet. So you can work one side, keep the surgery side off the plate. That's just an option for you. For a lot of my people that are dealing with vertigo, hearing aid sometimes you just got the wrong hearing aids and you're going through changes. You can be sensitive in the ears, the eyes, and the teeth if you've had any dental work done as well. So if you want to use your plate and you're just not sure if you can tolerate the vibration in the head yet, this is another way that you could use your plate just to minimize the head vibration and get functional. But if you're doing this for the purposes of today, I do want to make sure if you're just doing it to minimize the head vibes, please make sure that you do work both sides. So instead of like taking it and moving it around so I can just face you on camera, you at home, you would just turn around and do the other rep, maybe have a chair or something to hang on to. This is also good at most of my therapists have little medical stools and those types of things. It's a great tool to incorporate with your plate. When I'm doing demos, when I'm at trade shows, I never know what type of person I'm going to have in front of me. I always used to stand on a step so then I can talk to you and be eye to eye. But then I'd always have people on all the machines, so I would just show you the moves on the step while you're doing that. So I always kind of had one with me, and a lot of times it's just a great way to manage fear. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. Well, sometimes if you've had a traumatic medical experience, this may as well be Mount Everest, and it's going through an earthquake. If you're dealing with really poor mobility or a risk of a fall, and usually we have one good side and one weak side. So if you have had work or you've got a stronger side and you're trying to get ready for surgery or recover from surgery, this is a good way to be able to be in control of your body mass. And you can do this, depending on which way you do the movement. Sometimes if I'm working with vertigo, it may not be uncommon for your therapist to say, like, do you feel like you're dizzy this way? Or do you feel, if you have the sensation like you have a tendency to fall forward or backward, doing a half turn and standing on your plate this way is going to wobble you differently. Now, your heel, where your heel contacts the plate, drives the movement. So if you're all the way back here with your feet at the edge, that moves you more. So start with your heel closer to the center, and you'll feel that that's the control. And same in this. If this is a good way just to work on the balance training, close the eyes maybe for a second or two. Give yourself something to hang on to. But if the head vibration is still a sensitivity, you're using the plate this way, then just put it parallel with the plate and same thing. So I've got 1 foot on the step, 1 foot on the machine, and I can work one side at a time. Then I turn around and do the other. Okay? This is just an environment. You are only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. The squat outside of me wanting you to do it for that energy boost, it's going to build leg strength. It's going to help you build the bones back up. It's going to make you stronger to get back up out of that chair after you've had breakfast in the morning. The squat is really the number one exercise, not only to improve your function, but for those of you that are looking to burn some calories, maybe drop a few pounds, strengthen, that's going to serve dual purpose. So instead of doing a whole big routine, do some squats and do them regularly. What I would suggest if you are dealing with a recovery situation or you're just building your energy levels back up, I'm all about short. I have a really bad knee that I was supposed to get replaced a long time ago. That's kind of how I got into these machines. And I can do the moves and I like pushing myself, but it's the durations. So nobody says you have to do 10, 15 minutes. If you want to change your body, it's getting those muscles to a point of fatigue. Now, I showed you some exercises today, how you can do that without having to move. Sometimes, the joints give out before the muscles do. But ideally in your squat, especially if you're dealing with fatigue issues, you shouldn't make it past 15, 20 seconds in one rep. So if you're really pushing yourself for your range of motion, your body type, you shouldn't make it past 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, regardless of what setting you use. Faster settings are going to be more challenging, but keep in mind, you can always manipulate your feet. So if you're dealing with extreme fatigue, try and be done. Push yourself to be fatigued within the 15 to 30 second mark. If you are not, make the exercise harder. Or if you're not fatiguing within 15 to 30 seconds, you're probably not giving yourself enough credit and are in a little bit better health. My favorite add-on, instead of a whole bunch of other new moves, is I like to add mass. One of the things the post-60 crowd, post-surgery, post-traumatic event, if you've had a heart attack or something, is you got to build that strength back up. And the sooner that you can do that, it's never the fall or the break or the surgery, it's the recovery. And the sooner you can be on a positive uphill trend with your recovery, the more you're going to get back to better quality life and preventing an event from happening again. So adding weight, once you start doing this, and if you're able to do 15, 30 seconds, you're stable. Your balance is good. So you should be able to start incorporating other things. This is a medicine ball. There's a couple of different things I've used over the years. I really like the new, and I got to turn this down. Oh, that's more. This is the new Life Pro barbell. It is like there's a number of dumbbells out, but this is the barbell. What I love about using barbells, and I'm gonna crack the chair there. So once you're feeling stable, what I love about using barbells, and don't start with your squat, but if you want to pick things up and fatigue faster or gain strength faster, add a little weight. If you don't have weights, throw out a backpack with some rice or a bag of flour in it, or pick up a couple of jugs and fill them with water. I have 15 pounds on right now, 16 pounds, and I'm just holding it. And just by holding it, I'm making myself 15 pounds heavier, and I'm making my muscles stabilize and hold 15 more pounds. If you add that to your squats and you bend down, you should fatigue faster. I'm not suggesting you have to add 30, 40, 50 pounds, but start 5, 10 pounds. Maybe you've got some individual dumbbells from Life Pro. This barbell set is fairly new. If you're feeling comfortable and you want to start incorporating exercises, make them very slow, very dynamic, or very slow dynamic. There's a mentality that you have to push for broke and go 100 miles an hour to raise the cardiac, the lung function. I disagree with that. And many of you should not be doing vigorous moving activities. I'm going to put that back. So keep it simple, keep it realistic, keep it something that you're going to do regularly. And once you're able to do a very good squat for 30 seconds to a minute, you're going to notice other things like getting up out of the chair without having to use the arms. Instead of going around the block, you went around the block 2 or 3 times. It kind of creeps up. Short term, like I say, you're going to get the better circulation, the better balance, manage pain. There's lots of reasons short term to use this for your symptoms. It's kind of ideal if you are dealing with heart issues because it's an exercise more people can do. I do have to talk precautions because I've had a lot of questions. It is the new year, and that's usually related to there's a lot of new users. Between Black Friday and New Year's, there's a lot of new people using plates. Contraindications. My personal contraindications in comparison to Life Pro or anyone else with plate, contraindications are an indication. They are not contra absolutes. They are not contra you cannot do this. But with vibration plates, there's really not a big industry like treadmills and saunas. They haven't been around forever. So people tend to be extra precautious because unfortunately they get mixed up with occupational terms, and simply due to common language, vibrational exposure. If you search vibration exposure, all this bad stuff comes up about occupational and workplace and overexposure. And there is very much some credibility to those type of articles, but they're more related to big yellow things with 4 wheels or jackhammers or tampers where it's long durations, 8 to 10 hours a day, very high frequency. There, a lot of those pieces of equipment are anywhere from 80 to 200 hertz. You're 14 to 16 hertz on most of Life Pro's models, and it's physical mechanical movement. So when those of you are going, how long? Oh, I've heard you can overdo it. You can't really do anything more than over exercise on a machine, and you'll know if you have. So that's why it's so hard for all the help answering the questions, when Life Pro Susan and a lot of the folks the service team and myself and Amber, that's why you never get a black and white answer, because all of you are very different. So, how long can you use a vibration machine if you have heart conditions? I mean, it depends. How long can you walk up a hill? How long can you jog up a hill? It's going to depend on you personally, how much intensity or how much effort you're putting forth into the exercise. If the goal is to change things and get stronger, I would hope you're putting forth some effort and you're going to be fatiguing quickly. In a perfect world, you might be using it 3-4 times a day for a couple, 3 minutes. As I said, as symptoms present, when you need the energy, maybe you're going to the mall and you want to be able to keep up with everybody else. So there's all kinds of ways that you can use this as a lifestyle tool. But if you're truly looking at a workout, something structured, you should give your body a break if you're pushing muscles to fatigue, a day off in between. But keep it up with the other things. The more you can help your body with increasing that circulation, oxygenating the blood, getting the rest, getting the good food, all those other things in combination, this just makes the activity not only more possible, but gives you the bonus of being able to use it for symptom management as well. Okay, I'm going to shush now. So Stephanie says, yes, more sleep. What should we do before going to sleep on the platform? I would experiment. It's also a personal thing. A lot of my clients, and I've done sessions, I'm pretty sure, on sleep apnea. Depends on you. I personally am a little high energy. So if I am using it before bed, which is not uncommon if I've been sitting in front of a computer and my sciatic's bugging me or my back's bugging me, but I don't do a whole big thing. There's kind of this borderline, I want to relax your muscles and give you some good blood flow, but I don't want to get you so worked up that you're exhilarated and now you're, like the Energizer Bunny and you can't shut your mind off. So it's kind of a balance. I would suggest, depending on what's keeping you up, if you just don't fall asleep so good, maybe a good squat or two just to kill yourself before bed is going to get, not long durations as far as more exercises. If you're dealing with like restless leg, twitchy legs, those type of things, they're not always diagnosed, or really bad tension. A couple 3 minutes of, standing, doing some stretches. If range of motion allows, you could lay down and lay those body parts. A lot of my pediatric users that have spasticity in the hamstrings, as opposed to 20 minutes of manual massage, 2 to 3 minutes of, toe touches, hamstring stretches, massaging at the same time. It's just a time saver, and experiment with it, Stephanie. So try about a half hour before bed. Some of my clients can do an hour workout and sleep like a baby. Everybody's a little bit different, but if you're having trouble, things, and cut off outside sources like this, right? If you got your Wi-Fi or your phone, we're electrical beings, and as is our heart. And there's a lot more electrification of our environment as well these days. So we always think it's this or that, but we don't always think about the things we can't see. So if you are very techie and you have lots of things in the bedroom, give your body some distance or some time away from those devices to recharge, refuel, and restore without the disruptions of your phone distracting you mentally, or even maybe you're just sensitive to it. So these are all just things to think about. And the better nutrition also goes a long way. Hydration, things there too. And keep me posted, Stephanie. I'm curious. Sometimes the reason you buy a machine, very often when you buy a machine, the reason you researched it and bought it and made the decision is often the last reason you fall in love with it and are using it regularly. Sometimes it's the better sleep or less stress, or better sensitivity, or maybe you're always cold and it warms you up, or maybe it helps you with a condition that you didn't even know it could give you benefit for. So again, it's just an environment. It makes the activity piece that we're all supposed to be doing easier and more effective in less time. And for today's topic, dealing with heart issues, it's the fatigue thing. That's the biggest advantage. I started talking about contraindications. Indications are just that. So please speak with your care provider, your cardiologist, whoever it is, before you start any new activity, especially if you're coming from a past of big inactivity and poor health for other reasons. Please have that discussion with your doctor or your therapist and see, should you be getting active? Are there exercises that you should be targeting? Are there exercises you shouldn't be doing? Some of you are dealing with spinal issues or all kinds of other things. And there are actually sometimes stretches you shouldn't be doing or aren't best for your situation. So adhere to those as well on the machine. But contraindications, if I had to give you a list, there's one contraindication in my world. LifePro has a very big long list that I've helped them with, and they have to be precautious. You need to be precautious. The more you understand what this machine is and what it can do, the more you have less questions about the contraindications. But the biggest one for me, and I do not waver, if you are currently dealing with known blood clots or are at high risk of developing them, that could be a lifetime thing. That could be a short-term thing. When it's a lifetime thing, you tend to have more experience. You know how your body reacts to new activity, what you go through. So I would expect those same things on a vibration machine. But because of the enormous capacity of increasing circulation that these machines offer, and because it's hard to go for 2 to 3 minutes, because the machine set, the preset was for 5 to 10 minutes. We have a tendency to I did it twice today. You let that preset run, and before you realize it, you've done a whole 10 minutes. So moderation when you're dealing with blood clots, or you're going through a cardiac event, your body is going through some repair, and it's probably had some issues it needs to recover from. So you want to keep your durations short. You can always do a little more later, but keep your duration short. If you have been cleared by your doctor to be using your plate, and you do have known blood clots, I still prefer, if you are dealing with a known clot, I really would prefer you not be using your machine. But everyone is unique. So if you're comfortable and your doctor has cleared you, keep those durations short and reduce intensity as well. Sometimes it's the distance or the pull or how far those muscles have to expand and contract that contribute to things moving. And I just don't want anyone having a setback, but be very cautious of that. If you are just looking at a vibration plate and your doctor is unaware that that is the risk, so you can I would prefer you have that discussion with your care provider. Any other contraindication, and probably half of you right now are going to go, what about pacemakers? Are you allowed to go for a walk when you have a pacemaker? Are you allowed to go to the gym? Absolutely, you can use a vibration plate with a pacemaker, but there is a big BUT on my list. I just want to make sure that you're recovered. Are you supposed to be doing exercises yet? Just because this is kinder to the body than traditional exercise doesn't mean you can return to it sooner. It's absolutely up to your doctor and when you are able to resume your day-to-day activities. If you are a female and you have had a pacemaker implanted, it's not uncommon, because we don't have as large a chest muscles as our male counterparts. Sometimes it's slightly up into the arm. If you're not doing upper body exercises right now, you have no business just starting there on a vibration plate. I'd like you to get some basics, but I would give it for sure a couple of months. I want to make sure everything's adhered before you resume, if you were doing them prior. If you're just starting a vibration plate for the first time, I would prefer you learn how it feels and what works for you standing. Sometimes when you have a pacemaker implanted or you have a major heart issue, we dive head in into, I got prevent. But we tend to overdo it. You can't make up for 40, 50 years of what the world or your own choices have done to you. So if you do have a pacemaker and you're a woman, I want you just proceeding with caution and get used to using it on a standing pose or two before you proceed. And I've got a couple of other sessions on heart issues I've done specific to that. For my guys, same thing. You just want to make sure that you have been cleared to resume your activities. I will say, I personally, pulsation mode, and those of you using linear plates, pulsation mode is very mild. It doesn't have very much amplitude. A true linear or vertical plate, which is much more amplitude, much more movement, can be very intense on upper body, especially upper body direct positions. So I would prefer, if you are a guy and you are using a vertical style plate, that you discuss that with your doctor and just see if it's appropriate, or perhaps do some floor-based exercises. It's just a lot more intense. And typically I just prefer oscillating movement, that side alternating. It's more functional. It's going to fatigue you faster. You're working with bigger amplitudes. I just prefer it in my experience. What else? I kind of rambled on Stephanie's question there. So who else am I talking to here today? So Facebook user said leaky valves. I don't know if you're still here. Leaky valves. If that's something that you're currently dealing with, you'd probably want to get that dealt with before you delve into the world of vibration machines, because it does, like I say, have super capacity to increase circulation. But having said that, another question, can you overdo using your vibration machine if you have heart issues? Again, to me, it's not about the labels. Yeah, you can overuse your vibration machine. You can overdo a walk or a run. So do you see a theme here? It's not rocket science. It's not shockwave therapy. It's an environment that makes traditional floor exercises and activities easier and more effective in less time. There's no magic number for heart conditions. There's no preset. There's no better speed. It's really a personalized thing. And the more you kind of understand, it's not just the frequency or the speed. It's also the relationship of how much it moves you. It's that amplitude. That's your intensity. So start with your feet closer and a mid to faster speed. I know it feels backwards to everything that you've been told, but I'm asking you to just experiment. And I think you'll find less fear, less fatigue, and a whole lot more fun. So I hope that helped a few of you today. Don is asking how you get one. If you are in the USA or Canada, I for sure recommend going to those main page. Don't go to Amazon. They have some really good deals for the new year. I'm just going to grab the link for you. If you are an Amazon person, you can get the plates also on Amazon, but sometimes they're named differently. We live in a world on the internet. You can't sell the same thing in two places and call it the same thing, because the Google ad people don't like that for algorithms and keywords and so forth. So it's not uncommon. You'll see a plate here and it might have a slightly different name and description on Amazon. Just that's the way that the listings have to go. But a basic machine, basic operation, if you are planning on moving it around at all, I would recommend going with the Waver or the Mini. A lot of times everybody, if budget is no object and you got a big old workout room, sometimes you'd lean towards the best of the best because they're not terribly expensive in the scheme of other things that you may be paying for when you're dealing with heart recovery. But you don't always need the biggest and the baddest. And as I said earlier, be realistic in what you're going to be using the machine for. I also want you to really put some time into thinking, where are you going to be using it? Is it at home? Do you want to be able to take it back and forth to the office? Is it going to be in the basement where you don't have the energy to get to and back up? So sometimes when you're dealing with a recovery or a fatigue situation, you want closer access to it because you might be using it multiple times throughout the day. So by the kitchen island or maybe, behind the sofa in the living room, so you got something to hang on to, somewhere it's going to be accessible, especially if you're coming from a very below baseline and you're just getting things going. If you exercise regularly and you've got a dedicated space for it and you don't really plan on moving it around or you're a little bit stronger, any of the Romblex models start at 40 plus pounds. And you don't necessarily need all the extra movement types. Every movement type is a new motor under the hood of that machine. So if you've got oscillation, that's one motor. If you've got pulsation, that's two motors. If you've got lateral, that's three motors. So that the three movement machines in the Romblex series, the machine not only has to house three motors, but technically more controls and so that there's more components under the hood. So not only do they tend to be bigger, but with the extra mechanics, of course, they're heavier. So keep that in mind. That's also sometimes the reason many people have two machines. You've got your true machine, the machine, and then you've got your little lifestyle machine that you take to the cottage, or maybe, you take to your mom's house once in a while. I had a gal the other day with scoliosis that showed up at my house, and I haven't demoed it on camera yet, but I have a new Amazon model that LifePro's showing, and it's about 13 pounds, I think, and it's a little bit smaller. It's got the magnetic bump, so I like it for seated use. But I had this little gal with scoliosis. I've never seen pain like I did the other day. And I wanted her to take something home and just try it for a few more sessions. There was no way she was even carrying the Waver. So I had this little itty bitty one. It was perfect under the wheelchair. Sometimes, again, the machine has to suit the lifestyle. So be realistic in if you're just going to be using it to boost circulation in your recliner, probably the Mini is the best one to go for, to be honest with you. You do want a little bit of mass. You get what you pay for as far as stability in these machines. So if you do stand on, and I hope you do, if you plan on graduating to weight bearing and some squats and things like I've suggested today. The mini for sure, the Waver's got a little bit more width, so you got a little bit more room to stand, especially if you're a bit taller. These are just things to keep in mind if you are comparing plates. So I've dropped the link for that for you, Dawn, if you did want to take a look. I would suggest taking a look at the Waver and the mini Waver if you're looking just for good lifestyle choices. Anybody else here? I see coronary heart disease. So thank you for translating. I'm in Canada, so my brain, when you did CAD, was Canadian, like currency. It's Monday. So coronary heart disease is it's one of the bigger ones. I had stats up on that. I believe right now it is the leading form of heart disease in the US. But same kind of thing, even though it's coronary heart disease, you want to be certain, looking at you as an individual. Is it fatigue? Is it range of motion? Is it tight muscles? Is it weight loss? Again, what are the exercises that you should be doing and stretches? And the plate often facilitates a way to make those exercises easier and more effective, less time, less tax on you. And if you're dealing with coronary heart disease, for sure, you're dealing with fatigue, probably muscle weakness, maybe even some atrophy in those muscles, maybe a little neuropathy. Again, a lot of these symptoms are universal, and any time that you can spend on the plate is going to contribute to that symptom management piece. If you're coming from a very dark place, please don't be hard on yourself. There's so much that you can do, but I know it's hard to get started. The motivation isn't there. Doors are being slammed in your face. I can relate to that. I used to be well over 200 pounds, and I was just told that I was old and needed to get a knee replacement. And I just thought, that's it at 30? Like, what am I going to do in 10 years? Get another knee? So, I need to be careful about the type of impact that I do. I have to be really careful when I wear heels, but I am down to $125, $130, and this is all I've done for 17 years. And now I support like hospitals all over the world, the neurosurgeons. So if I can do this from the place I was at as a woman, the poor me complex, put a few more pounds on my frame, but it was something I could do. It's something I could get those muscles to a level of fatigue without movement, which was awesome for the knee. And now I'm finding, to be honest with you, there's things I could do now that I couldn't do. Flexibility and just confidence in activities with my kids, my dogs, my husband, that I just never trusted the knee. Right. So many of you can relate to that. I hope I've given you hope. I hope I've given you some motivation, because really the big thing is just getting started. If you have a plate now, dust it off. It's not about a workout. Just start moving and feeling better. Carol from South Carolina, good health, but family history. So prevention, whether you have gotten yourself better or you're just trying to do some changes or improvements as the preventative piece. Don't stop using the machine just because you're having a good day and the energy levels are up there. Do a little bit every day. Again, circulation is really, really critical in getting that improved. The leg strength in the calves is another really, really key thing, and flexibility. Lymphatic flow, which we don't talk about enough sometimes. The reason this is important is I know you're dealing with heart issues, but lymph issues is that the immune and the detox, and there's so many other things that they work and complement each other as systems in our body. When we move, lymph moves. When we don't move, lymph ain't moving. Even though your heart is still pumping, circulation, it's the only thing doing the work. So even if it's just getting up to walk over to the machine and look at it, just to turn around and go and sit back down, you're still getting more lymph moving than have you never got off the recliner. If you'd like to just start with it on your feet, do something. I challenge you, and check back with me as well. I see also who is here. Jane is from Illinois. Hello. Good afternoon. I want to make sure I've covered everybody's questions. My ramblings. Yes, sleep. There's also a couple of things that I want to bring you to the attention of. If you are looking at purchasing a machine or a massage gun or red light, and you've been sitting on the fence because the deals have been going on for a while, they always do come to an end. And sometimes it's not so much that the deal itself is ending, but things ran out of stock, people. So if you have been considering a vibration plate or a gun and it's still 20% off, I would say Chinese New Year is coming up, and there's always every year there's all these. Oh my gosh, there's no product coming out of China or Germany or anywhere because ports. Well, it's that time of year. So if you have been looking for something, there's still lots and lots of good deals, 20% off site wide. Of course, I hope it's a vibration plate or something related. If you don't have one, if you are using a vibration plate now, today was really, I just hope to get you guys motivated. It doesn't have to be a big workout. Do something, start moving and feeling better and progress accordingly. There's a lot of reasons. Just use precaution. And like I say, before starting any new activity, make sure you have a discussion with your care provider, your doctor, therapist, just to make sure what's appropriate. And, sometimes there's just things we don't think about. Maybe there's some stretch that we used to like to do, but because, we had a spinal fusion last week, we need to do something else. So just make sure that, you let them know what you're thinking about and discuss any potential risks that you may personally be dealing with. Outside of that, there's also a review contest going on. There's so many different review contests. I got to pay attention, and you need to pay attention. So one just ended. There was one last week, but there's a new one. First 50 entries. So I want to, there is a limited time basis. I'm sure there may be more coming down the road, but I can't say for sure. So I want to make sure if you have reviewed, this is a new one, any reviews on products starting as at February the 1st. I'm trying to find that link for you so I can share. I don't have it here. I'm going to find it for you guys. No, I don't have it. I'm going to drop in the event when I'm done here. I'll make a comment in the comments. About the review contest. Any reviews since February 1st will be eligible. And you as a user or a member is not equal to an entry. When you go into the link, I thought this morning there's like all these entries. There's, depending on the review and where you do it and where you share it, there's X amount of entries. So you might get 5 entries if you do it here, and you might get 5 entries if you do it there. So it's the number of entries doesn't mean that it's done, but the first 50, it's going to be cut off. So I will get that over to you in the line. You know what? I'm going to make you wait so I can get it to you, and you can be one of the 50. And I will be here next week. If you guys like this time, I'm doing this a bit earlier. I find I'm always a bit rushed getting out the door. I typically have time with my daughter at Baton. So I just want to make sure that this time frame works for you. If there's a better time that you would like to see me, please just let me know. I'd be happy to accommodate, and I am flexible. Here is the review link contest. I'm going to go into it right now. So if you've bought anything or you just haven't done a review yet, any entries this time back to August the 1st, February the 1st are eligible for your chance to win a $500 gift card and some other ideas there too. So I'm just going to put this in the link now. Please go in and enter that and share your wonderful benefits and check back with me. If you do have any questions ever, just tag me at Debbie with a Y if you're watching this on a recorded basis, especially. Sometimes if you don't tag me, I don't see it and I get lost in the comments. So make sure that you tag me. And if you do have any suggestion ideas for myself, Amber, and Roseanne, sessions that you'd like to see, please just let us know. There's thousands of ways to start moving and feeling better. The plates are my preference. Again, they're just an environment. If you got yours dusted off, if you're just getting started, keep it simple, keep it realistic, and have some fun. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Don't work too hard, and have a great rest of your Monday. Thank you.